just a couple of things that I'd like to talk about today as we continue furthering the thread. One of the things that's really shocking to me, Dunnigan, is that every week when I sit down to prepare for the following week's discussions, there is more and more and more to talk about. When I started talking about this, nobody was talking about it. And now lots of people are talking about it. Yet, most people in this country are still fast asleep. And here again, it's for people like you, God bless you, who are out there sharing real information. And just a couple of threads that I'd like to add to this progression about what's going on with the furthering of the BRICS endeavor. We saw just the other day that Biden was at a climate meeting, and it was called the COP27 Climate Group. He was speaking in front of, who said that he was very sorry for leaving the United States, for leaving the Paris Climate Accord, and he would continue to transition the United States away from oil and gas, and that he would give poorer nations billions of dollars to help offset the pollution that the evil United States makes. So here we are, an insolvent nation who is pledging to give money for the pollution that we create when countries like China are much worse in the way of pollution, and that we would continue to transition us away from oil and gas. And you wonder why Saudi Arabia wants to leave the petrodollar, why Saudi Arabia has joined the BRICS nations, why they last week said that China is their biggest trading partner for oil for this year and the next 50, signaling the end of the petrodollar. That's one thing that I think is certainly worth talking about. You don't see much of this in the mainstream media. We found recently the Russian foreign minister announced over a dozen new countries are going to join BRICS. We've already talked about Argentina and Iran, but now it's Algeria has applied as well. The United Arab Emirates, Nicaragua, Turkey, Indonesia, Senegal. We've talked about Nigeria, Afghanistan, Egypt. We've talked about Kazakhstan. We talked about Saudi Arabia applying. And what's interesting is a lot of these countries are specifically targeted because they then have what's called the BRICS Plus. These countries have influence in their own neighborhoods, so to say. So, for example, with Brazil, you have Argentina in Latin America, and Nicaragua in Central America. You have Algeria, Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia in the African nations. You have Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, in and around Russia. And Central Asia, you have India, Indonesia, and Thailand. These countries are all bringing in their neighbors. And it's very interesting that this list continues to grow higher and higher and bigger as these nations are likely to influence those within their region, not only on the Belt Road Initiative, but also onto the BRICS. And so when the article I was reading talking about additional future candidates should be expected because of the related geographics would be in Central America. These are next to be invited. Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Panama. In Latin America, Bolivia, Chile, Cuba, Ecuador, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. The Caucasus region, Azerbaijan. In Central Asia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And in Southeast Asia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. Now, I want to mention one thing. We've talked about that the Russian finance minister has already told us they're going to issue a commodity-backed currency, BRICS will, to challenge for world reserve. Now, we've talked about how gold was reclassified Tier 1. Now, many of the countries I just mentioned, check this out. This would be gold holdings as a percentage of reserves. Venezuela, we've already talked about, they've applied. 82% of their reserves are in gold. Uzbekistan is applying and is on that list I just read, 65%. Kazakhstan, same thing, 63%. Bolivia, same thing, 55%. Belarus, same thing, 40%. Turkey purchased more gold in the first 7 months of the year than anyone in the world, 29%. Pakistan, 29%. I can't even pronounce this one, KYRG, Kyrgyzstan, 22%. Sorry, I'm butchering the hell out of that. The point is, I verified all of these countries are either have applied or are on the short list of those that are going to apply. One more thing, we have the United Arab Emirates, and we talked about how there are a couple of senators that want to pull the missiles away, not only from Saudi Arabia, but also the UAE as an open act of aggression by them not pumping more oil into the midterms. They are now in dialogue with Pakistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Iran, Belarus, Cambodia, Kuwait, Maldives, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, so on and on and on and on. The lists are growing, and the mainstream is ignoring it. But if you go to some of the websites across the globe, they're all talking about it. And so while we're here talking about the Fed and all of these things going on, half of the world countries I can't even pronounce are all loading up on gold because it will be a prerequisite. You must have gold to be part of this new game. And they're all either applying or have expressed interest, or the BRICS nations have expressed interest in issuing invitations. It's getting very, very serious, and it's growing right under our feet, right in front of our eyes. And I think every single week that we talk, there'll be more and more to talk about. But you can see, if you look, that this thread is turning into something much bigger than just a linear progression of events. It is turning into something that I believe will be the main focus of discussion in 2023. 2022 has been the war in the Ukraine. I think 2023 is going to be the transition of the BRICS nations. I guess we'll have to see, but if you look at the tremendous number of countries that are all expressing interest or being invited into the fold, it's becoming very interesting and very, very real, I think, at the same time.